Have you ever felt like you don't belong in this world? That you're here, fulfilling a mission no one else can see? There's an invisible mark that only 2% of humanity carries. And Carl Jung dedicated his entire life to unraveling this mystery. These people aren't special by accident. They see through social masks, feel energies others ignore, and carry an existential weight most will never comprehend. Jung discovered this mark appears in specific patterns, recurring prophetic dreams, profound loneliness even when surrounded by people, and an inexplicable attraction to the occult and symbolic. If you've ever woken up at 3 a.m. with insights that changed your life, or feel your soul is too ancient for your young body, this video didn't reach you by accident. What I'm about to reveal in the next words may finally explain why your life has always seemed different and why it was never a curse, but your greatest gift. The wound no one sees. The price of seeing beyond. There's a specific kind of pain that comes with being awake in a world that's asleep. It's not physical. It's not something you can point to on your body or explain to a doctor. This pain lives deeper, in a place where most people never venture. Jung called it the wound of consciousness, and if you carry the rare spiritual mark, you know exactly what this feels like. It's the ache of seeing what others cannot see, knowing what others refuse to know, and feeling what others have learned to numb. From an early age, something inside you was different. While other children played without questioning, you watched. You observed how people wore masks, how they said one thing but meant another, how the adult world was built on agreements that nobody truly believed in. This wasn't cynicism, it was clarity. And clarity, as you've discovered, comes with a price that nobody prepared you for. The wound opens wider as you grow. You sit in rooms full of people talking about surface things, weather and gossip and plans that mean nothing, and you feel like you're suffocating. Not because you're better than them, but because you can't unsee what you've seen. You notice the sadness hiding behind smiles. You feel the desperation underneath the laughter. You sense the quiet suffering that everyone has agreed to ignore. And the worst part, you can't turn it off. Jung understood this deeply. He wrote about how consciousness is both a gift and a burden. The more aware you become, the more isolated you feel. Because awareness separates you from the collective dream that most people live inside. They move through life, following scripts they never wrote, playing roles they never chose, and they seem fine with it. Happy even. Meanwhile, you're standing outside the theater, seeing the whole production for what it is, unable to pretend anymore. This creates a unique kind of exhaustion. It's not just about being tired. It's about carrying knowledge that has no place to rest. You understand things about human nature, about suffering, about the invisible forces that shape our lives, and you can't share these insights with most people. They'll think you're weird. They'll tell you you're overthinking. They'll ask why you can't just relax and enjoy life like everyone else. But how do you explain that you can't unsee? How do you make someone understand that ignorance, for you, is no longer an option? The wound also shows up in relationships. You attract people who are drawn to your depth, your ability to see them truly. They come to you with their problems, their secrets, their hidden selves, and you hold space for all of it because that's what your soul knows how to do. But then something happens. They get uncomfortable with how much you see. They start hiding again. They pull away because your presence reminds them of parts of themselves they're not ready to face. And you're left alone again, wondering if there's anyone out there who can meet you in that deep place without running away. Jung talked about the individuated person, someone who has done the work of becoming whole. But he was honest about the cost. Individuation means separation from the herd. It means standing in your truth even when that truth makes you unpopular. It means accepting that most people will never understand your journey because they're on a completely different path. This isn't about superiority, it's about frequency. You're vibrating at a level that most haven't reached yet, and that creates a natural distance. But here's what Jung also revealed, and this is crucial. The wound is the entry point for light. The very thing that makes you hurt is the same thing that makes you powerful. Your sensitivity isn't weakness. Your awareness isn't a curse. These are the tools of transformation, both for yourself and for the world around you. The pain you feel is your soul refusing to go numb, refusing to accept the shallow version of reality that society offers. You see, most people have learned to close off their hearts to survive. They've built walls so high that nothing gets in, but nothing gets out either. You haven't done that. You've remained open, vulnerable, raw. And yes, this means you get hurt more easily, but it also means you experience life more fully. You taste the depths that others only glimpse in their dreams. You access realms of meaning and purpose that the sleeping world has forgotten exist. The wound teaches you discernment. It shows you who can handle your energy and who cannot. It reveals which environments nourish your soul and which ones drain it. Over time, you stop trying to fit into spaces that were never designed for someone like you. You stop explaining yourself to people who have no interest in understanding. You start honoring the wound as the sacred teacher it is. And this is where the journey deepens. Because once you accept that seeing beyond comes with a price, once you stop resisting the loneliness and start embracing it as part of your path, something shifts. The wound becomes a portal. It becomes the very thing that connects you to others who carry the same mark. They recognize you instantly, no words needed. Just a knowing glance, a shared understanding that says, I see you and I know what it costs to be awake. 2. Dreams that predict when the unconscious speaks. The wound of awareness naturally leads to another sign of the rare mark. Your dream world is not ordinary. While most people forget their dreams within minutes of waking, yours stay with you for days, weeks, sometimes years. They're vivid, layered with symbols, and often they show you things before they happen in waking life. This isn't coincidence. Jung spent decades studying the unconscious mind, and he discovered that for certain individuals, dreams serve as a direct communication channel with something far greater than the thinking mind. If you carry this spiritual mark, your dreams have probably saved you more than once. Maybe you dreamed of a person before you met them. Maybe you saw an event play out in sleep and then watched it unfold exactly the same way in reality. Maybe you received warnings, guidance, or answers to questions you hadn't even asked yet. This is the unconscious speaking, and it speaks loudest to those who are ready to listen. Jung called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. But for the 2%, dreams are more than just a road. They're a living library, a school where your soul goes to learn lessons that your waking mind can't process. The language of dreams is pure symbol. A snake isn't just a snake. Water isn't just water. Every image carries multiple meanings, and your unconscious knows exactly which symbols to use to get the message across. What makes prophetic dreams different from regular dreams is their quality. You wake up from them feeling different. There's a weight to them, an undeniable knowing that what you experienced was real on some level. The emotions linger. The images stay crystal clear. You can recall every detail as if you lived it, because in a sense, you did. Your consciousness traveled to a place where time works differently, where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. Most people dismiss these experiences. They'll say it was just your brain processing information, just random neurons firing. But you know better. You've tested it too many times. You've had dreams that showed you outcomes you couldn't possibly predict through logic alone. You've received information that saved you from danger or guided you toward opportunity. And over time, you've learned to trust this inner guidance system more than any external authority. Jung discovered that the unconscious doesn't just show you personal material, it also taps into what he called the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of human experience and archetypal energy that exists beyond individual minds. When you dream, you're not just accessing your own memories and fears. You're plugging into a vast network of wisdom that humanity has accumulated over thousands of years. This is why certain symbols appear across all cultures. This is why your dreams sometimes feel ancient, like they belong to someone who lived centuries ago. The people who carry this mark often dream in cycles. You'll have recurring themes, recurring landscapes, recurring characters that show up year after year. These aren't random. They're teachers. They're aspects of yourself that need attention, messages that need decoding. Jung encouraged his patients to befriend their dream figures, to dialogue with them, to ask what they represent. Because every character in your dream is ultimately you. Every monster, every guide, every mysterious stranger is a part of your psyche trying to communicate. But prophetic dreams go beyond personal symbolism. They give you glimpses of actual future events, and this is where things get controversial. Science doesn't have a good explanation for precognitive dreams. How can you dream of meeting someone before they enter your life? How can you see a specific conversation happen before it occurs? Jung himself struggled with these questions, but he didn't dismiss the experiences. Instead, he developed his theory of synchronicity, which we'll explore deeper later. For now, understand that your dreams are showing you that reality is far more fluid than the material world suggests. Learning to work with your dreams becomes essential. You start keeping a journal, writing down everything you remember upon waking. You notice patterns. You see how certain symbols relate to certain life situations. You begin to understand your unconscious language, and once you crack that code, the guidance becomes even clearer. Your dreams start giving you practical advice. They show you which path to take, which person to trust, which opportunity to pursue. The challenge is that our culture doesn't value dreams. We're taught to prioritize logic, reason, proof. We're told that dreams are meaningless, just mental static. So when you try to explain that you knew something because you dreamed it, people look at you like you've lost your mind. This is another layer of isolation that comes with the mark. Your most powerful guidance system is something you have to keep mostly private, something you can't easily share or validate with the sleeping world. But Jung validated it. He took dreams seriously. He saw them as messages from the self to the self, from the deep unconscious to the conscious ego. And he recognized that certain people have a more open channel to this communication than others. If you're part of the 2%, your dreams aren't just interesting, they're essential. They're how your soul navigates a world that often makes no logical sense. As you continue honoring your dreams, something remarkable happens. The boundary between sleeping and waking starts to blur in the most beautiful way. You become more aware during dreams. You start having lucid dreams where you can interact with the dreamscape consciously, and the insights from your sleep life begin informing your waking life more directly, creating a fluid conversation between your conscious and unconscious minds. This integration is what Jung worked toward his entire life, and it's a natural development for those who carry the rare spiritual mark. By the way, if you're curious to go even deeper and integrate your shadows and light, check out the Sim Method ebook. It's a concise guide that can help you unlock your inner power in just 5 minutes a day. The link is in the first pinned comment below. 3. The sacred loneliness of the chosen ones. Your dream life reveals truths that most people never access, and this brings us to perhaps the most painful aspect of carrying this mark: the loneliness. Not the kind of loneliness that comes from being physically alone. You can be in a room full of people, surrounded by friends and family, and still feel completely isolated. This is the loneliness of being fundamentally different, of operating on a wavelength that few others can tune into. Jung understood this intimately because he lived it himself. The loneliness starts early. As a child, you probably felt like an outsider even in your own family. While others seemed to fit naturally into their roles and routines, you questioned everything. Why do we have to do things this way? Why does everyone pretend to be happy when they're not? Why do adults lie so much? These questions didn't make you popular. They made you the weird one, the sensitive one, the one who thought too much. As you grew older, the gap widened. You tried to fit in, you really did. You learned to wear masks just like everyone else, to play the game, to say the right things at the right times. But it never felt authentic. Inside, you were screaming. You were dying a slow death every time you had to pretend that shallow conversations mattered, that material success was the point of life, that following the crowd was safer than following your soul. The loneliness becomes more acute in your relationships. You attract people easily because there's something magnetic about your energy. People feel seen by you in a way they rarely experience elsewhere. But then the pattern repeats. They get close, they open up, they share their deepest fears and dreams, and you hold space for all of it without judgment, because that's natural for you. But when you try to share your depths, when you reveal the complexity of your inner world, they freeze. It's too much. It's too intense. They can't handle it, so you learn to edit yourself. You share only parts of your truth, the parts you think people can handle. You become skilled at reading how much depth someone can take before they start backing away. This becomes exhausting, because what you want more than anything is to be fully seen, fully known, and fully accepted. But that kind of connection is rare. Most people are barely connected to themselves, let alone capable of connecting deeply with another person. Jung wrote about the individuated person as someone who is separated from the collective to become their authentic self. But he was clear that this journey is fundamentally lonely. The masses move together, think together, believe together. They find comfort in conformity. When you step out of that collective current to find your own path, you're stepping into unknown territory. There's no map, there's no guidebook, there's no community cheering you on. There's just you and your commitment to truth. This loneliness serves a purpose, though. It forces you to develop an inner relationship with yourself. When you can't rely on external validation, when you can't find people who truly understand you, you have no choice but to go inward. You become your own best friend, your own counselor, your own guide. You learn to trust your inner voice more than any outer authority. This is actually the whole point. The loneliness is pushing you towards self-reliance, toward inner knowing, toward a connection with something greater than human relationships. But it still hurts. There are nights when the loneliness feels unbearable. When you wonder if you'll ever find your people, your tribe, your soul family. When you question whether being awake is worth the price of isolation. When you fantasize about going back to sleep, about being normal, about fitting in like everyone else seems to. These are the dark nights of the soul that Jung talked about. They're part of the initiation. The truth is, you're not meant to have a large circle. You're not meant to be understood by everyone. The 2% who carry this mark are here for a different reason than the majority. Your relationships will be few but profound, quality over quantity, depth over breadth. You might have only 1 or 2 people in your entire life who truly get you, and that's enough, because those connections will be so real, so authentic, so soul-deep, that they'll sustain you more than 100 superficial friendships ever could. What helps is recognizing that your loneliness is actually sacred. It's not a flaw or a failure. It's a sign that you're on the right path. The loneliness is protecting you from wasting your energy on connections that don't serve your growth. It's guiding you towards solitude, so you can do the inner work that's required. It's teaching you that you are complete within yourself, that you don't need external validation to know your worth. Jung spent years in what he called his confrontation with the unconscious. He withdrew from the world, dove deep into his own psyche, and emerged transformed. This period of intense loneliness and isolation gave birth to his most important work. It taught him that the journey inward is the most important journey of all. Your loneliness is inviting you on the same journey. It's asking you to stop looking outside for what can only be found inside. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more comfortable you become with your aloneness, the more you attract genuine connections. When you stop needing people to validate you, when you stop trying to force connections that aren't meant to be, when you relax into your solitude, something shifts. The right people start appearing. Not many, but the ones who do appear will recognize you immediately. They'll be carrying the same mark. They'll understand your language without translation. The sacred loneliness also heightens your sensitivity to the subtle realms. When you're not distracted by constant social interaction, when you spend time in silence and solitude, you become aware of things that others miss. You notice the energy of places. You feel the presence of something greater than yourself. You start experiencing moments where the universe seems to respond directly to your thoughts and feelings. This brings us to the next sign of the rare mark, the phenomenon that Jung spent years trying to understand and explain. 4. Synchronicities. The universe conspiring in your favor. The sacred loneliness opens a doorway to one of the most mysterious aspects of carrying this spiritual mark. Synchronicity. Jung coined this term to describe meaningful coincidences that can't be explained by cause and effect. These are moments when the outer world mirrors your inner world in ways that defy logical explanation. You think of someone and they call. You need an answer and a book falls off the shelf open to exactly the right page. You're at a crossroads and a stranger says the exact words you needed to hear. For the 2%, synchronicities aren't occasional oddities. They're a regular part of life. The universe speaks to you in signs and symbols, in perfectly timed events, in coincidences that are too specific to dismiss. And the more you pay attention to these patterns, the more they increase. It's as if reality itself is responding to your awareness, confirming that you're tuned into something most people can't perceive. Jung discovered synchronicity through his own experiences and his work with patients. He noticed that significant psychological shifts were often accompanied by meaningful external events. A woman dreams of a golden scarab beetle, and during their session, an actual scarab taps on the window. A man contemplates a major life change, and he keeps seeing the same number everywhere he goes. These weren't random. They were the unconscious mind communicating through the physical world. This challenges everything we've been taught about reality. We're told that mind and matter are separate, that thoughts can't influence external events, that coincidences are just mathematical probabilities playing out. But your lived experience tells you otherwise. You've had too many synchronicities to dismiss them as chance. You've seen how your internal state directly correlates with what shows up in your external world. You've witnessed the magic that happens when you align with your deeper truth. Synchronicities often come in clusters. You go through periods where the universe is clearly trying to get your attention. The same theme appears in multiple places. Different people say similar things to you. Signs and symbols repeat in ways that feel like a cosmic conversation. These are pivotal moments. The universe is confirming that you're on the right path, or warning you that you're off track, or preparing you for something important that's about to unfold. Learning to read synchronicities becomes a skill. You develop a personal symbol language. Certain animals, numbers, or situations carry specific meanings for you. When they appear, you know what the message is. This isn't superstition. It's a sophisticated form of communication between your conscious mind and the greater intelligence that orchestrates reality. Jung called this the collective unconscious, but you might call it Source, God, the universe, or simply the field. The rational mind struggles with synchronicity. How can thinking about someone cause them to reach out? How can your dreams predict future events? How can the right opportunity appear exactly when you need it? Science doesn't have good answers because synchronicity operates outside the framework of linear causality. It suggests that consciousness and matter are intimately connected, that we live in a participatory universe where observation and experience shape reality. For those who carry the mark, synchronicities serve multiple purposes. They provide guidance when you're lost. They offer confirmation when you're doubting. They deliver hope when you're struggling. They remind you that you're not alone, that something greater is watching over you, that your life has meaning and direction even when you can't see the full picture. But synchronicities also require trust. They ask you to act on faith, to follow intuitive nudges that don't make logical sense. You feel called to go to a certain place, and you meet someone who changes your life. You randomly pick up a book, and it contains the exact information you needed. You take a wrong turn, and it leads you to an opportunity you wouldn't have found otherwise. These moments test your willingness to surrender control and trust the flow. The more you honor synchronicities, the stronger they become. When you notice them and act on them, you're sending a signal to the universe that you're paying attention. This strengthens the connection. The messages become clearer, the signs more obvious, the support more tangible. It's like developing a relationship with life itself, where both parties are actively communicating and responding to each other. Jung warned against interpreting synchronicities too literally or becoming obsessed with finding meaning in everything. Not every coincidence is significant. Sometimes a random event is just random. The key is discernment. True synchronicities carry a feeling tone. They resonate in your body. They give you chills or bring tears or create a sense of rightness that you can't explain but absolutely trust. This felt sense is more reliable than any intellectual analysis. What synchronicities ultimately reveal is that reality is far more interconnected than it appears. The separation between inner and outer, between self and world, between matter and consciousness, is an illusion. We're all part of a unified field where everything influences everything else. Those who carry the rare mark have a heightened sensitivity to this interconnectedness. You feel the web of relationships that connects all things. You sense the invisible threads that link events together in meaningful patterns. This awareness changes how you move through life. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop trying to control everything through willpower alone. Instead, you learn to dance with reality, to read the signs, to follow the flow, to trust that you're being guided. This doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming responsive, attuned, aligned. You still take action, but your actions are informed by a deeper intelligence than your thinking mind can access. And as you develop this relationship with synchronicity, as you learn to trust the mysterious ways that life supports you, you begin to notice something else. The darkness you've been running from, the parts of yourself you've tried to hide, keep showing up in your synchronicities too. The universe isn't just bringing you light and guidance, it's also bringing you face to face with your shadow, with the disowned aspects of yourself that are demanding integration. This is the next threshold in the journey. 5. The luminous shadow, embracing your hidden side. Synchronicities guide you through life, but they also lead you exactly where you don't want to go, into your shadow. Jung's concept of the shadow contains everything you've rejected about yourself, everything deemed unacceptable, everything hidden from the world and your own awareness. For the 2%, shadow work isn't optional, it's the core of the journey. Most people spend their lives running from their shadow. They project it onto others, seeing in them the qualities they refuse to acknowledge in themselves. They create a persona, a mask of who they think they should be. But your sensitivity won't allow this. The mask suffocates you. The shadow reveals itself in predictable ways. You have intense reactions to certain people for reasons you can't explain. You experience repeating relationship patterns. You sabotage yourself right when you're about to succeed. These are invitations from the shadow, asking to be seen and integrated. Jung taught that the shadow isn't just negative traits. It also contains buried gold, positive qualities you rejected because they weren't acceptable. Maybe you hid your intelligence because it threatened others. Maybe you suppressed your creativity because it wasn't practical. Maybe you dimmed your light because shining too brightly made people uncomfortable. All of this waits in the shadow to be reclaimed. The journey requires brutal honesty. You have to see yourself clearly without ego protection. You have to admit you're capable of the same darkness you judge in others. This is humbling, but the truth is, we all contain the full spectrum of human potential, light and dark. Shadow work speaks in symptoms rather than direct communication. It shows up as anxiety, depression, addiction, relationship problems, and self-sabotage. These aren't just obstacles. They're messengers from the unconscious, trying to get your attention. Your body keeps the score of everything you've refused to feel. The process begins with recognition. You start noticing patterns. You catch yourself projecting. You feel the discomfort when pretending. You acknowledge the parts you've been ashamed of. What you can see, you can work with. What remains hidden continues to control you. Jung encouraged dialogue with rejected parts of yourself. Give them voice, listen to what they say. Often you discover these shadow aspects aren't evil, they're just human. They develop protective strategies based on past wounds. When you approach them with curiosity rather than judgment, they transform. The shadow also contains your disowned power. Many with the rare mark have learned to make themselves small. You've hidden your gifts, downplayed your abilities. Reclaiming your shadow means stepping into your full power without apology. It means owning your brilliance, your intensity, your difference. As you do this work, the energy you've been using to suppress the shadow becomes available for authentic living. You stop wasting energy maintaining the false self. You become more integrated, more whole, more real. Shadow work is never finished. It's a lifelong process of peeling back layers. Each level of awareness reveals another beneath. This is the spiral nature of growth. The reward is liberation. When you stop running from your shadow, when you embrace all of yourself, the internal war ends. You find peace. Not the peace of having everything figured out, but the peace of accepting yourself as you are. This integration creates what Jung called the individuated person, someone who has become whole, someone who has faced their darkness and found light within it. And as you become more whole, you naturally step into the final stage. You understand why you've walked this difficult path. You're not here just for yourself. You're here on a mission bigger than your personal healing. 6. The final call. Your mission in this world. Shadow work transforms you from someone who's merely awake into someone who's ready to serve. This is the ultimate purpose of carrying the rare spiritual mark. You're here on a mission, not a mission assigned by any external authority, but one that emerges from the depths of your being. Jung believed that each person has a unique calling, and for the 2%, this calling burns with particular intensity. Your mission isn't something you need to figure out intellectually. It's already encoded in your soul. It reveals itself through your wounds, your gifts, your passions. What breaks your heart is often connected to what you're here to heal in the world. What comes naturally to you points to your unique contribution. The very things that made you feel different are actually your medicine, your offering to humanity. Most people never ask why they're here. They follow the script, get educated, get a job, retire, die. But for you, that's not enough. You need meaning, you need purpose. This hunger for significance is part of the mark. It's your soul reminding you that you came here to do something important. The mission often involves being a bridge between worlds. You understand both material and spiritual realms. You've walked through darkness and found light. This makes you uniquely qualified to guide others who are starting to wake up. You become a way shower, not because you have all the answers, but because you've walked the path. Jung talked about the wounded healer. Your wounds weren't accidents, they were initiations. Every time you've been broken and rebuilt yourself, you gained wisdom. Every shadow you integrated made you more whole. Every fire you walked through forged you into something stronger. All of this was preparation for now. Your mission might not look like what you expect. It might be raising conscious children, bringing awareness to your workplace, creating art that awakens people, or simply holding space for others to be themselves. The size doesn't matter. What matters is living authentically and letting your unique frequency radiate into the world. Stepping into your mission requires overcoming fear of visibility. You've spent so long hiding, but your mission is bigger than your fear. The world needs what you have to offer. You won't see the whole path, only the next step. You'll have to trust that the same intelligence guiding you through synchronicities will continue as you step into your purpose. Remember, you're not alone. The 2% are scattered across the world, each doing their part. You're connected through invisible threads, working toward the same goal, raising consciousness and bringing more light into the world. Jung spent his life encouraging people to become who they truly are. This is your mission, to be yourself fully, unapologetically, courageously. When you do this, you give others permission to do the same. You become living proof that consciousness is worth the cost. The rare spiritual mark isn't a burden, it's a calling. An invitation to live more deeply, love more fully, and contribute more meaningfully than most people ever attempt. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, it requires sacrifice. But it offers something the sleeping world can never provide: genuine purpose, authentic connection, and the profound satisfaction of knowing your life matters. You're not here by accident, you're here on a mission, and the world is waiting for you to step into it fully.